All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We are looking at the chronological story of the ultimate assassin going undercover. Picture this. It's his very first day in a South Korean high school as a transfer student. Instead of doing the normal, awkward introduction, our protagonist just casually creeps out his homeroom teacher by asking for a cigarette. I mean, it sets the tone immediately, right? We're dealing with a guy who operates by a completely different set of rules. And as we go through this timeline, you'll see just how explosive those rules get when they collide with everyday high school drama. So what actually happens when the world's deadliest assassin goes undercover in high school? Well, this brilliant premise kicks off the journey of Ryu Kangman. In the criminal underworld, he's a legendary operative known as the Ace of Spades. But to his new classmates, he just looks like a boring, scrawny kid. Naturally, the local school delinquents decide he looks like easy prey. They drag him out to smoke, trying to flex their supposed gang ties, completely unaware that they are literally offering a light to an unstoppable killing machine. To really grasp why these high school thugs are completely out of their depth, you gotta understand Kangman's brutal upbringing. From childhood, he was raised on a private, uninhabited island run by the Bathala Group. For him, survival meant being buried underwater, strapped with chains, forcing himself to break free before his lungs burst. By the age of 11, he was already outsmarting and disarming fully trained adult assassins who tried to test him. When you grow up in that kind of literal hell, a couple of teenagers trying to act tough are basically just background noise. Now here is the absolute kicker. Kangman isn't here to play nice or join any study groups. He's on a final mission. The Bathala organization gave him an impossible task: hunt down a target with zero identifying information, other than the name Lee San. The reward? Lifetime freedom. If he pulls this off, he and his family will be eternally free from Bathala's grasp, never to be used as bargaining chips again. So he's using this high school as ground zero to flesh out his target. And because of his traumatic past, he approaches high school the exact same way he approaches a war zone. So how does he handle the local bullies? He masterfully flips the script on a thug girl named Hyan and her gang. When they try to set him up by filming him in a compromising situation, Kangman decides, hey, I'll just use them as bait for my larger mission. He executes this with cold, calculated precision. Step 1, he ensures the fight looks like mutual combat to dodge legal trouble. Step 2, when a cocky kid tries to hit him with a heavy metal fire extinguisher, Kangman catches it with one hand and crushes the solid metal like it's Play-Doh. That unforgettable physical impact instantly shatters their false confidence. And to cement his absolute dominance, when the gang's leader, who happens to be a former top MMA prospect, thinks he can take him on, Kangman just drops this ice-cold line. My expertise is action thriller. With a single kick, he demolishes the bathroom stall door and folds the MMA fighter like a lawn chair. He completely breaks them mentally, turning the bullies into his terrified servants, and uses them to gather intel on missing students so he can find a lead on his target. Moving into the next phase, the network, and the introduction of a delusional psycho named Jung Hoonu. With the school underworld firmly under his thumb, Kangman turns his attention to a shadowy dark web organization called the Network. The contrast here is just wild. On one hand, you've got Ryu Kangman, a cold, calculated professional fighting for his family's freedom. On the flip side, his new adversary, Jung Hoonu, is a creepy, highly delusional outcast. Hoonu actually got expelled for assaulting Hamyan in the past, and now he secretly shoots up gang hideouts with heavily modified lethal BB guns. Oh, and he leaks private videos to the network for cash. He is the exact kind of digital age criminal element Kangman needs to exploit to climb the ladder to his target. To draw this psycho out of the woodwork, Kangman pulls off an absolute tactical masterpiece. Knowing Hanu is completely obsessed with Hyan, Kangman forces her to go on a highly public fake date with him around Seoul. But he takes it a step further. He actually forces the very thugs he beat up earlier to act as hired paparazzi. They follow them around, snapping photos and flooding social media with them, specifically to trigger Hanu's intense jealousy. But get this, and this is just hilarious. Demonstrating his total lack of normal social skills, Kangman takes Hyun to a restaurant and orders exactly 80 dishes. Yes, 80. Since he spent his childhood breaking chains underwater, his worldview is totally warped. He literally has no idea how a normal day works. He just assumes that ordering the entire menu is standard procedure to establish dominance or show you can provide. It adds this incredible layer of dark humor to his otherwise terrifying persona. Well, the trap is sprung and Hoonu attacks. The plan works flawlessly. Fueled by manic jealousy after seeing all those Instagram posts, a furious Hoonu corners Yeon in a dark elevator.
He pulls out a modified Glock Parabellum, screaming about how she betrayed him. He is fully prepared to take her out, which sets the stage perfectly for an epic showdown, just as Kangman casually steps right out of the shadows.
When you think about the power scaling between these two, it's practically comical. Hunu actually thinks he has the upper hand because he's armed with lethal rounds, but he is fundamentally outclassed by Kangman. I mean, when Hunu fires his weapon, Kangman literally teleports out of the way like a Dragon Ball Z character. The gap in their combat effectiveness isn't just large, it's completely off the charts. In the middle of this fast-paced, visceral gunfight, Kangman just casually taunts him, saying, "Are you truly in so much of a hurry?" When Hunu unloads a massive flurry of real bullets as a desperate last-ditch effort, Kangman expertly uses heavy appliances as a shield to secure Hyeon's safety. Then, returning fire with absolute precision, he effortlessly shoots off Hunu's fingers with a single shot. Total disarmament. But wait, here comes a massive plot twist. Hunu totally loses the gunfight and flees in pure terror into the crowded streets, thinking he somehow escaped death. But Kangman is always 5 steps ahead. He's already hacked a massive digital billboard towering over the city. As Hunu looks up, his own pathetic, leaked private videos are being broadcast to the entire world. Panicking at his ultimate public humiliation, Hunu stumbles straight into traffic and gets violently struck by a truck. A truly poetic, if unplanned, ending for the guy. Now for the aftermath, where the hunter becomes the hunted. Let's rewind for just a second to look at the brutal wrap-up by the network. Even though Hunu survived the truck hit and ended up in the hospital, his time was definitely up. You see, the network, they absolutely do not leave loose ends. They send in an operative disguised as a doctor to inject a lethal, untraceable drug right into Huntnu's IV line, making the whole thing look like medical malpractice. At the exact same time, another suited network operative approaches Hyun and completely wipes her memory of the traumatic events. But here is the crucial part. Impressed by the sheer chaos and skill Kangman displayed, this operative formally invites Kangman to join the network. This is exactly what our assassin wanted all along. He finally has a foot in the door to climb their structure and find his true target, Lee-san. Which brings us to a spine-chilling ride in a Rolls-Royce that takes a deadly turn. Kangman is picked up by his new network escort in this incredibly luxurious car. To maintain his cover as just an eager, low-ranking teenage recruit, Kangman acts super goofy. He's hanging his head out the window, rambling excitedly about car engines. It's the perfect facade, designed specifically to make him look totally harmless and naive. But suddenly, the escort just completely drops the act. Looking at the teenager, he coldly tells him to get back in the car before he suffers a fatal skull fracture, which, demonstrates an oddly specific knowledge of lethal injuries. Then, without missing a beat, he casually name-drops Kingsman's top-secret assassin alias, the Ace of Spades of Bathala. Reaching out his hand to properly introduce himself, the escort reveals that he is Lee-san. He is the exact target Kingsman has been searching for this entire time. So that leaves us with one massive burning question. Trapped in a moving vehicle, completely isolated, with his cover blown wide open by the very man he was sent to kill, how in the world will the Ace of Spades make it out of this alive? The hunter thought he was laying a clever trap, but he just walked straight into the lion's den. It's a masterful cliffhanger that totally flips the power dynamics on their head. What do you guys think his next move will be? Thanks for walking through this incredible storyline with me, and definitely keep questioning how these master manipulators operate behind the scenes.